Hi everyone, so I'm going to start reading now our new book, Streetchild, okay? So you might have had a little think about what it might be about, all right? So I'll read the back for you first of all. Okay, it says, Jim Jarvis is a runaway. When his mother dies, he is all alone in the workhouse and desperate to escape. But London in the 1860s is a dangerous and lonely place. Jim faces a constant battle to survive. Just as he finds some friends, he is snatched away and made to work with a remorselessly cruel, grimy Nick, constantly guarded by Nick's vicious dog, Snipe. Will Jim ever be free? Okay, so now I'm going to start on the introduction and into the first couple of chapters. Okay. Tell me your story, Jim, it says. Jim Jarvis. Want to know who that is? It's me. That's my name. Only thing I've got is my name, and I'd give it away to this man. Barney his name is, or something like that. He told me once, I only forgot it, see, and I don't like to ask him again. Mister, I calls him to his face, that is. But there's a little space in my head where his name is Barney. He keeps asking me things. He wants to know my story. That's what he tells me. My story, mister? What do you want to know that for? Ain't much of a story, mine ain't. He looks at me all quiet. It is, Jim, he says. It's a very special story. It changed my life, child, meeting you. Funny that, isn't it? Because he changed my life, Barney did. I can't believe my luck, and that's a fact. Here I am with food in my belly, and good hot food at that, and plenty more where that came from, he says. I'm wearing clothes that smell nice and that don't have no holes in neither, and I'm in this room where there's a great big fire burning and plenty more logs to put on it, so it just won't die off. And then there's me and him. The other boys are upstairs in their hammocks, all cosy in the big bedroom that we sleep in, and downstairs there's just me and him, special. I want to laugh. I'm so full of something that I want to laugh out loud, and I stuff my fist into my mouth to stop myself. Barney gives me a look, all quiet. Just tell your story. My story? Well, I creep back to the fire for this. I hug my knees. I close my eyes to shut out the way that the flames dance about and the way his shadow and mine climb up and down the walls. I shut out the sound of the fire, sniffing like a dog at a rabbit hole, and I think I can hear someone talking very softly. It's a woman's voice talking to a child, and I think she was talking to me. Mister, I says, just whispering so as I don't chase the voice away. Can I tell you about my ma? Chapter 1, The Shilling Pie. Jim Jarvis hopped about on the edge of the road, his feet blue with cold. Passing carriages flung muddy snow up into his face and in his eyes, and the swaying horses slithered and skidded as they were whipped on by their drivers. At last Jim saw his chance and made a dash through the traffic. The little shops in the dark street all glowed yellow with their hanging lamps, and Jim dodged from one light to the next until he came to the shop he was looking for. It was the meat pudding shop. Hungry boys and skinny dogs hovered around the doorway, waiting for scraps. Jim pushed past them, his coin as hot as a piece of coal in his fist. He could hear his stomach gurgling as the rich smell of hot gravy met him. Mrs. Hodder was trying to sweep the soggy floor and sprinkle new straw down when Jim ran in. You can run right out again, she shouted to him, if I'm not sick of little boys today. But I've come to buy a pudding, Jim told her. He danced up and down, opening and closing his fists so that his coin winked at her like an eye. He prized it out of his hands and bit it. Where did you find this little shrimp? She asked him. And stop your dancing. You're making me rock like a ship at sea. Jim hopped onto a dry patch of straw. Ma's purse, and she said there won't be no more because that's the last shilling we've got. And I know that's true because I emptied it for her, so make it a good one, Mrs. Hodder. Make it big with lots of gravy. He ran home with the pie clutched to his chest, warming him through its cloth wrapping. Some of the boys outside the shop tried to chase him, but he soon lost them down the dark alleyways, his heart thudding in case they caught him and stole the pie. At last he came to his home, and a house so full of families that he sometimes wondered how the floors and walls didn't come tumbling down with the weight and the noise of them all. He ran up the stairs and burst into the room his own family lived in. He was panting with triumph and excitement. I've got the pie! I've got the pie! He sang out. Shh! Sister Emily was kneeling on the floor and they turned round to him sharply. Ma's asleep, Jim. Lizzie jumped up and ran to him, pulling him over to the fire so they could spread out the pudding cloth on the hearth. They broke off chunks of pastry and dipped them in the brimming gravy. What about Ma? Asked Lizzie. She won't want it. Emily said she never eats. Lizzie pulled Jim's hand back as he was reaching out for another chunk. But the gravy might do her good, she suggested. Just a little taste. Stop shoveling it down so fast, Jim. Let Ma have a bit. She turned around to her mother's pile of bedding and pulled back at the ragged cover. Ma, she whispered, try a bit. It's lovely. She held out a piece of gravy-stroked pie crust to her lips, but her mother shook her head and turned over, huddling the rug around her. I'll have it, said Jim, but Lizzie put it in the corner of her mother's bed rags. She might feel like it later, she said. The smell might tempt her. I told you, said Emily. She don't want food no more, that's what she said. Jim paused for a moment in his eating, his hand resting on the portion of pie in case his sister snatched it away from him. What's the matter with Ma? He asked. Nothing's the matter, said Emily. She chucked a log on the fire, watching how the flames curled around it. She's tired, that's all, Lizzie prompted her. She just wants sleep, don't she? But she's been asleep all day, Jim said, and yesterday, and the day before. Oh, just eat your pie, said Emily. You heard what she said. There's no more shillings in that purse. I don't expect no more pies after this one. She'll get better soon, Lizzie said, and then she'll be able to go back to work. There's lots of jobs for cooks. She'll soon be out of this place. That's what she told me, Jim. Will we go back to our cottage? Jim asked. Lizzie shook her head. You know we can't go back there, Jim. We had to move out when Father died. Eat your pie, said Emily. She wants us to enjoy it. As the pie had grown cold before the children finished it, they pulled their rag pile close to the hearth and curled up together, Jim between Emily and Lizzie. In all the rooms of the house they could hear people muttering and yawning and scratching. Outside in the street dogs were howling and carriage wheels trundled on the slushy roads. Jim lay awake. He could hear how his mother's breast rattled in her throat, and he knew by the way that she tossed and turned that she wasn't asleep. He could tell by the way his sisters lay taut and still each side of him that they are awake too, listening through the night to the noises, longing for the daytime to come. Okay. So, the family are in a bit of a bad way. They've not got much between them, have they? In chapter 2 tomorrow, it's called The Stick Man. So we'll read on and find out what happens, okay, and who the stick man might be. Okay then, guys, bye-bye.